and welcome to another Dawn and Julia Create. So I have set the challenge this time and we're going to play with crayons. Cheap and cheerful, easily accessible to everyone, but actually I've been playing with these lots recently and they are really good and versatile and perfect to add to our crafty stash. I've done stenciling with them, we've done colouring in, but today we're going to play with crayons plus watercolours to see what kind of interesting resist effects we can create. I can't wait to get started. I can't wait to see what Dawn creates. So without further ado, shall we just start playing? I have pulled out my Kuretake Ganzi Tambi paints to use today, as well as a selection of various crayons, not sure exactly what direction I'm going in, a stencil and some of the winter birds. So I start off playing with stencils. This little stencil has shapes within shapes. So rather than use the sort of whole stencil, what I wanted to do was just to pick out some of those little elements. I thought those would look like little moons and crescents. We've got a couple of little love hearts and I've gone for a lot of the little circles. In my head, that's going to work out as snow. At the minute, as you're looking at it, you're not seeing an awful lot on the page. I'm also sort of like drawing. This is going to be hopefully a snowy bank. So I'm just sort of scribbling down some white crayon in the hopes that it would work. I then get out my paint and da-da-da, there we go, it has worked. I'm so excited with myself here. So we've taken a selection of different types of blues and I am just literally going down the page and painting it and watching the design pop up. Look at the snow! Oh my goodness, that works so well. I have to say, I think this may be my new favourite technique for creating snowy scenes. So I've gone and let that dry. It's sat over on the drying station. Not the floor actually this time, it was actually the unit behind me. So I've done some trees and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm grabbing my white crayon and sort of colouring down fairly hard, so burnishing quite hard, areas where I thought snow would sit on a tree. So we are going to do that and then attack it with some watercolours and see what occurs. Now this is very new to me. It's not something I've ever done before. I was just kind of like wax resists watercolour, so it should work. I'm glad it has worked, especially as I asked Dawn to do it. It would have been unfortunate if it didn't work. So I can't wait to see what Dawn has created. Dawn's always very good at thinking outside the box, so I'm sure she'll have done something utterly amazing. But I have to say, I really like this. It's almost, I think with watercolours anyway, I quite like watercolours because you can sort of lose control of it a little bit and just let the water do its work. Again, in this instance with the crayons, you've just got to let it do its thing and trust the process, and I quite like that because I do tend to be a little bit of a control freak when it comes to colouring and a page. So the fact I've just got to let loose and let it do its own thing is really good. As I said, the other thing about this is it's particularly budget. I mean, okay, I pulled out my Kuretake Ganzi Tambis. I think I just like saying that. But you could go for some really cheap budget watercolour and this would work exactly the same. Now I decided for the birds to sort of take the opposite approach to how I've created the background. So in this particular instance, I have started off by adding the watercolour first. And then I was going to add the crayons later. I'm still needing lots of practice when it comes to watercolours. That was my goal this year, to try and spend more time. And in all honesty, I have. I think when I review what I'd planned for this year, there might be a few little gaps. But I have spent more time doing watercolour. But I've still not spent enough time to master it. But stay tuned because I am going to be doing a watercolour class with the lovely Erica from Stampernori, and yeah, that'll be live on this channel, so that should be fun. And hopefully I'll learn a few tips, but I'm just building up the layers here and I am letting it dry in between. I have gone for very loose. It seems to be like the only way I actually know how to watercolour. When I stamped, I don't know what happened when I stamped, but the eyes just sort of disappeared. It was meant to be a juicy ink pad and I had tested it, so I don't know why it was so bad. But I always feel these sort of things look well dodgy, but if you put the eyes back in,
it suddenly comes back to life. So we've drawn all the eyeballs back into these little birdies, and suddenly they look okayish again. So spill the crayons everywhere. Excellent, just what we need. So now I'm adding those depths of shadow, but this time with crayons. So I'm sort of adding in the little rosy cheeks. I'm just hitting some of the shadow areas with the crayons just to build up the colour a little bit. This is sort of very loose and organic, but in all honesty, the way the background worked, that was very loose too. So it should all match fine. That's the plan anyway. So yeah, just continuing with the colouring. I have to say, look at that desk. Talk about child's play. I think it's fun working with crayons. To be honest, it really takes away the pressure because there's absolutely no way you're going to create perfection with children's crayons. But it sort of unleashes creativity in a completely different way. There's no pressure to make it perfect. So then you're just in the moment enjoying it. So honestly, I would highly recommend get yourself a packet of crayons and have a play. It's amazing what you can do. So right now I'm just sort of playing with the various elements that I've got, trying to work out a little bit of a composition. Look how fab those trees look. I'm so delighted with them. I really am. So I think this is roughly where I'm sort of starting to feel a little bit happier with how it's looking. Decide to put the extra tree in as well, and then we will just start sticking all of that down. Lots of indecision, as you can see. I kind of wanted to add all three birds, but the composition didn't work. So then we start sort of gluing that down, and yeah, this using the Nouveau glue. No, the tonic Nouveau glue. It works the best for me, to be honest. It's the glue that I've found that clogs the least. So that is very useful. I did refer in the intro to the fact that we have coloured with crayons and we have done stenciling. I will sort of link to both those videos at the end. There's so much you can do with crayons. Actually, I'm contemplating creating a video of all the things you can do with crayons for crafters. I think that could be quite interesting. So I'm just trimming this up. I also just have to mention that Dawn and I are going to be taking December off when it comes to the Dawn and Julia Creates. Dawn has quite a lot on because she's organising lots of amazing goodies for you all. And I've seen some of them. They're so nice. You'll be excited. And for me, my life has turned upside down and inside out, as you may well have noticed. So I don't have the same amount of time as I had before. So we're taking December off. And then from January, we will be still doing the Dawn and Julia Crate because I could never give it up. I love this challenge and I love Dawn to pieces. And there's no way I would ever give it up. But we are going to go to once a month. So that should be fun. Didn't like the hard edges of the tree stumps, so I'm just sort of cheating a little bit and coming in with a little bit of gesso and dabbing that just to make it look okay. Also, I did the whole thing where I failed to record a bit, so I'd taken my Ohuhu marker and I just sort of traced the edges of the watercolour, so that there's a little sort of line, so it almost looks quite like cave-like. Add a few splatters, bish bash bosh, and we are done. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I loved it. I loved it. Crayons are my new favourite thing. So pull them out and have a play. And do pop over to see what the marvellous Dawn has done with her crayon make. Enjoy these two videos if you want to learn more. And I will be back with some more crafting very, very soon.